Hello, everyone. It is, unfortunately, that time of year. Temperatures drop, snow begins to fall, ice accumulates, roads become slippery, salt goes on the road, cinders. If you're in Pennsylvania, you know cinders all too well. All these things tend to make a lot of riders decide to put their bikes into storage. Who can blame them? Even if you have heated gear, as soon as that salt hits the road, no one really wants that salt on their bikes, especially if there's pre-treatment. That stuff just eats everything. So most riders, at least those in the cold climate when you have bad weather, they put their bikes into storage. But there's ways to do that. You don't want to just take your bike as is, throw it in the corner, and take it out in the spring. You've got to take care of your fuel. You want your bike to be clean if you're going to put it under a cover, but it's always good to have it clean anyway. You want to get it up off the tires, although that is debatable by some, but I'm a firm believer of avoiding flat spots. And just a couple other nitpicky items that you want to do before you winterize the bike. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what I do to prepare my bike for the winter, because once the salt hits the road, I don't ride anymore. I don't care about the temperature. I don't care about the snow, honestly, but the salt, I have a big problem with the salt. I'm going to go through the things I do. If you have any questions at any point, just feel free to leave them in the comment section. Let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do to prepare your motorcycle is you need to stabilize the fuel. Now, you could go and try and find, if you can even find it, zero ethanol gas. If you can find zero ethanol gas, that's a good thing. Matter of fact, that's a great gas to store. But you should still put stabilizer in it, just to prevent any kind of gunk buildup. Because as fuel breaks down, it begins to gunk. The ethanol actually pulls in moisture. That's the problem with ethanol. So it absorbs moisture, and the gas actually doesn't last that long. If you can get no ethanol added, get it. But otherwise, you still want to stabilize. Now, there are a couple stabilizers out there that you can use. A very common one that almost everyone's heard of is sta-bil. And this works. I mean, I used to use it for years. I don't use it anymore. So I have a souped up Camaro, and every winter I store it too because of the salt. And when I would use sta-bil at the beginning of the year, it ran awful. I'm talking cracks and pops through the exhaust. Didn't want to idle right. So it was a hard time running through that fuel to get to a gas station to get some fresh stuff in there. Then I learned about Seafoam. This stuff is amazing. So I don't know if I can get this to focus, but just read off the can. So the nice thing about Seafoam is it actually cleans your fuel system. So when you go and you run it in the spring, it cleans everything out. So it cleans injectors, it cleans carb jets, stabilizes fuels. That's what we want for this video. Controls moisture in fuels, also what we want for this video. It'll quiet noisy lifters, clean deposits, add lubricity to fuel, lube upper cylinders, and de-ice and anti-gel. So this stuff is the best stuff ever, in my opinion. I don't know how else to say. So when I started putting this in my Camaro, it fired right up in the spring. Never had a single issue for the entire tank of gas. And it's because of that, I use this in everything. I don't even use that sta-bil anymore. Matter of fact, that stuff's so old, it's expired. I might as well just burn it. Okay, maybe not burn it, but need to get rid of it. Now, using Seafoam, there's different directions for how you use this. But on the back of the can, I'm not sure I'm going to get this to focus, but I'll read it to you. To stabilize fuel, Seafoam works to stabilize stored fuel up to 2 years. And you add 1 ounce per gallon of fuel. Now, these things come in 16 fluid ounces, so you can actually do 16 gallons. I can say if you go a little over, that's fine, but you want to try and meet the minimum. So if you want to measure it out, eyeball it, doesn't matter, as long as you get enough in there. And like I said, the beautiful thing is it'll clean your fuel system out in the spring. You want to have a full tank of gas. So you can do a couple things here. You can go and bring the can with you to the gas station, put it in before you fill up, and fill the tank up right at home. That'll do everything you need. The other thing is you can get a gas can. Doesn't matter what kind of gas can. But just make sure you have enough to fill up your tank. And pour the Seafoam in, and then pour the gas in. If your tank is already full, go ahead and just add the Seafoam. Just make sure it's full and not too full, because if you do have a very nice warm day, you don't want the gas trying to get out of the can. But once you have it full, you want to take your bike. Let me try the other side. Okay, you want to take your bike and rock it and shake it up. Okay. Now, if you ride back from the gas station, you don't need to do that. If you fill it up, so if you have the gas can or whatever and you fill it up, you may not do it, but I do recommend it anyway. Shake it up, get it all mixed up. And then if you just already have a full tank and you add it, you do need to shake it up. You need to get that Seafoam work through the fuel that's in there. The most important thing after that, you want to fire your bike up. Let it run for several minutes. I usually like letting it run for 5 minutes. That makes sure that the Seafoam or whatever stabilizer you're using works its way through your fuel system and stabilizes all the gas throughout the entire system. That's step number 1. You want your gas stabilized. Step number 2, clean your bike. So here's the thing. If you have a dirty bike, well, it's just not good for the paint to leave dirty anyway. But anyone who rubs up against it, it's going to leave scratch marks. If you put a cover over it, it can rub the dirt into the paint and leave scratch marks. So I recommend cleaning your bike. Now, what I use for mine, since it's black, is I use this Turtle Wax Color Magic Jet Black just for any areas that have marks in it. So I use that for any areas that have marks in it. Now, before you use that, you need to clean your bike. Now, of course, in a lot of areas, it's too cold. You probably already shut off your hoses, or it's just too cold to go to a car wash and wash it. And that's fine, because you can get all different kinds of speed detailers. Just make sure you keep using a clean cloth and wipe it down. Get it all nice and clean, and then you can go ahead, polish any marks that you have. And then once you're done, put on a coat of wax. And I'm using this new stuff, which is graphene, but I'm using the Turtle Wax Graphene, and this is spray wax. Goes on nice and easy. So once you have it cleaned and waxed, you also want to take care of your chain. Now, you don't necessarily need to clean your chain before storing it in the winter, but you definitely want to lubricate it. So just because, moisture in the air, whenever it does come in the wintertime, make sure it has a nice coating of lubrication on there for storage. Now, I am not going to bore you right now. I'm sure you can see my bike is dirty. I'm not going to bore you right now with detailing my bike. I'm going to go ahead and stop the camera, clean it up, and then we'll go on from there. If by chance you would like to see a video of how I detail my bike, let me know in the comments section, and I'll put one together in the spring. Ooh-wee! Isn't she pretty? Boy, nothing feels as good as a clean and waxed bike. A couple things I actually wanted to note. If you're using this, any kind of these, I actually ended up using the ceramic black wax, ceramic acrylic. If you use these spray waxes and spray detailers, be careful around the tires and any of your brakes, because this stuff is slick. So putting something slippery on your brakes, you're not going to stop too well. Putting something slippery on your tires, you're going to have traction issues. So please be careful. What I do around the tires and brakes is I spray the rag and wipe it on rather than spray the panel. The other thing is glass. I didn't cover what I use for that. And this comes with a disclaimer. But I use invisible glass for the mirrors and the windshield. Now, you're not supposed to use this on polycarbonate. And I actually didn't know that for several years while I was using it. And I never had a problem. So I just haven't stopped using it. And it works phenomenal. I've never had any issues. I do believe it supposedly weakens it. So just don't use it on your helmet. But I do not know the facts on that. I do not know the details. I just know it says right on the can not to use on polycarbonates. So use at your own risk. But that's what I use. So now that the bike is nice and clean, we've stabilized the fuel. We've cleaned the bike, lubed the chain. Now the next important thing is the battery. And this is something you need to know about your battery. If you have a lithium battery, first of all, if you're in cold climates, you really shouldn't run a lithium battery anyway. But if you do, get that thing inside. Okay? You do not want to let a lithium battery freeze. You will destroy them. You also need a special lithium battery charger. So you can't just use any normal battery charger. Now, for those of you who have normal batteries, lead acid, AGM, whatever, you can leave them in the motorcycle. It doesn't matter. As long as you put a battery tender on. Now, I use a C-Tech. What I love about this is it can, first of all, revitalize a very dead battery, but it will also maintain it, desulfate it, all that good stuff. So, and it's got a motorcycle mode. And then you can actually set it to an AGM motorcycle if you want to. So I have links to everything I'm talking about in my videos in the description below. But this is the battery tender I use. It comes with these waterproof connectors, which is great. I've got mine wired in right here. So you want to hook up a battery tender. Now, you can choose to do that once you have it on the stands, once you have it under the cover. Well, I mean, hook it up first, but before you put the cover on, but plugging it in or whatever. Doesn't matter. Just make sure you plug in your battery tender, battery maintainer, whatever you want to call it. And believe me, you will get lots of years out of your battery if you do that. If you let it sit and just run the bike once in a while or whatever, it's not going to last that long. I kept my Camaro on a battery maintainer, and I got 11 years out of that thing. It's good to keep the batteries full. I'm not going to go into the technicalities of desulfation and all that, but use the battery tender. The next thing, you want to get the bike off the ground. And this is where I mentioned there's some debate. And I do have a video of how to use the paddock stands, but get the bike off the ground. The reason for this is to eliminate flat spots. Okay, now there's debate that you won't get flat spots letting your bike sit for 3 months or whatever. But the truth is, these tires, or at least on sport bikes, is a very soft compound. And that soft compound will compress and it will have a memory. Now, after you ride a little bit, chances are it will come out. If it only sat for a couple months, if you let it sit for years, they won't come out, get new tires. But I just prefer to put it up on paddock stands and avoid the whole situation. The debate is you don't get flat spots. I believe you do. And it also depends on your tire. And then the counter argument to that is you're putting, stress on the suspension because that's what you're lifting up with on the paddock stands. Not much. I mean, your kickstand is not supporting that much weight. Most of the weight's still on your suspension. So putting it up on the paddock stands isn't going to change that much. You've got it stabilized. You've got it clean. You've got the battery tender hooked up. You've got it up on your paddock stands. Again, I already have a video for the paddock stands, so I'm not going to swing them around and show you because this isn't where my bike's actually going to be parked. The last thing you want, and this is completely optional, but I do recommend it. Put it under a cover. What cover do I have here? I have a Guardian. It's a Guardian cover that I'm going to try and use. But I always had that on my Ninja. It was awesome. My 636, that is. It was awesome. It protected it. I mean, it's not the best cover because it's not soft material on the inside. But compared to rubbing up against it, foam catching it, because usually you tuck these things away in a corner. Some people put it on in their homes. So put a cover on to protect it. But again, that's optional. And that's all there is to it. Your bike will be good. It will be happy. Sit until spring. And then you can go and take her on out once your warm weather hits. In Pennsylvania, it's risky because of the cinders they put down. That's all there is to it. Again, stabilizer. I recommend Seafoam. Clean and wax the bike. Doesn't matter if you use speed detailer. Matter of fact, that's pretty much all I ever like to use on my stuff. My Camaro and my bikes, that is. Speed detailer and wax it. Or you can wash it and wax it. I prefer the Turtle Wax products. Either ceramic or the graphene stuff is great. Can't remember which, but I think the graphene lasts longer than the ceramic. I don't know. The ceramic's amazing. Either way. And I got the black stuff, so it's actually kind of colored for my bike. So, stabilizer, wash and wax, battery tender. Oh, sorry. Don't forget about the chain lube. Make sure you lube your chain. Battery tender, put it up on stands if you have them, and cover. And that's all there is to it. I think the most important thing from this video is the stabilizer. That is the thing that's going to make your bike run like garbage in the spring. If you don't have stabilizer in there, well, first of all, it's going to clog stuff up. Okay? The fuel breaks down and turns to like a sludge. And it will clog stuff up. So put a stabilizer in. And the nice thing about Seafoam is it'll clean your whole fuel system out in the spring when you run that tank through. Make sure to put your battery on a battery tender unless you want a dead battery in the spring. Or you want a battery that doesn't last long at all. This is just how I winterize my motorcycle to sit the long, dull, sad, and depressing cold months of the winter. Thanks for watching, and stay safe, stay warm, and let's get out there in the spring. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I will try and answer everyone's questions as soon as possible. If there's anything you would like to see, any tips, tricks, techniques, anything at all motorcycle related, please let me know. I do these videos for you, so anything that you would like to see, I am more than happy to do it. If you like this video, please click that thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and click the bell to notify you whenever a new video drops. Thank you again. Ride safe and keep the rubber side down.